Hey everybody, welcome back to the church building. We are continuing our cover to cover Bible reading, and we're in 2 Kings. Now, before we dive in, I've explained in the past why I'm trying to read the entire Bible, and I won't go over that right now. But I don't think I've said much about my approach. I'm trying to read everything at face value. Like, I've just picked up this book with no preconceived ideas or any just like I don't know anything about this. I'm just reading the story as it's presented, I mean, as best I can, without introducing any like past knowledge or biases into it. I know, which is almost impossible to do. I mean, I'm reading this through my own brain, my own prism, but I want to approach as fresh, and a lot of it is fresh. I've never read 2 Kings, so this is brand new. I did skip ahead here, and I know this particular passage, or these next few chapters, are brutal in the sense that they're just a lot of complicated names, a lot of, I don't know if I'd call it boring, but it's just rapid-fire historical facts. It's just not easy reading, or probably not pleasant viewing on your part, but we'll do our best. It's part of the Bible, and I'm going to read through it. That's the plan. So, that being said, I'm trying to approach this with fresh eyes, I guess is what I'm saying. Chapter 14, we're going to go hopefully 14 through 17. This is a longer read. This isn't the best or most exciting part of the Bible. So it is what it is. Hey, Andy, stop talking and just read. That's what we're here. Okay. Chapter 14, the second year of King Joash, son of Ahaz of Israel, King Amaziah, son of Joash of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoiadan of Jerusalem. He did what was right in the sight of the Lord, yet not like his ancestor David. In all things he did as his father Joash had done. But the high places were not removed. The people still sacrificed and made offerings on high places. As soon as the royal power was firmly in his hand, he killed his servants who had murdered his father the king. But he did not put to death the children of the murderers, according to what was written in the book of the law of Moses, where the Lord commanded, "The parents shall not be put to death for the children, or the children be put to death for the parents, but all shall be put to death for their own sins." He killed 10,000 Edomites in the valley of Salt and took Selah by storm. He called it Jokthael, which is its name to this day. Then Amaziah sent messengers to King Jehoash, son of Jehoaz, son of Jehu, of Israel, saying, "Come, let us look one another in the face." King Jehoash of Israel sent word to King Amaziah of Judah, "A thorn bush on Lebanon sent to a cedar on Lebanon, saying, 'Give your daughter to my son for a wife.' But a wild animal of Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thorn bush. You have indeed defeated Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Be content with your glory and stay at home. For why should you provoke trouble so that you fall, you and Judah with you?" But Amaziah would not listen, so King Jehoash of Israel went up. He and King Amaziah of Judah faced one another in battle at Beth-shemesh, which belongs to Judah. Judah was defeated by Israel, everyone fled home. King Jehoash of Israel captured King Amaziah of Judah, son of Jehoash, son of Ahaziah, at Beth-shemesh. He came to Jerusalem and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate, a distance of 400 cubits. He seized all the gold and silver and all the vessels that were found in the house of the Lord and in the treasures of the king's house, as well as hostages. Then he returned to Samaria. Now the rest of the acts that Jehoash did, his might, and how he fought with King Amaziah of Judah, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Jehoash slept with his ancestors, and he was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. Then his son Jeroboam succeeded him. Before we get into verse 17, one key thing to keep in mind, and this is about all the commentary I'll give, is that at this point, and this is something I had to look up as a reminder, the Hebrew nation, God's people, right now at this point in the story are split into two kingdoms, a northern kingdom called Israel and a southern kingdom called Judah. And at this point they're fighting each other, they fight other countries, other kings, and this is going to continue as kings come and go. But that helped me make sense of this, like what in the world's going on? Okay, there's a Judah with its capital Jerusalem, and Israel to the north with its capital Samaria, each having its own king. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Verse 17, King Amaziah, son of Joash of Judah, lived 15 years after the death of King Jehoash, son of Jehoahaz of Israel. Now the rest of the deeds of Amaziah, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? They made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him to Lachish and killed him there. They brought him on horses. He was buried in Jerusalem with his ancestors in the city of David. All the people of Judah took Azariah, who was 16 years old, and made him king to succeed his father Amaziah. He rebuilt Elath and restored it to Judah after King Amaziah slept with his ancestors. Verse 23. In the 15th year of King Amaziah, son of Joash of Judah, King Jeroboam, son of Joash of Israel, began to reign in Samaria. He reigned 41 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not depart from all the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he caused Israel to sin. He restored the border of Israel from Lebo Hamath as far as the sea of the Arabah, according to the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, which he spoke by his servant Jonah, son of Amittai, the prophet, who was from Gath-hepher. For the Lord saw that the distress of Israel was very bitter. There was no one left, bond or free, and no one to help Israel. But the Lord had not said that he would blot out the name of Israel from under heaven, so he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam, son of Joash. Now the rest of the acts of Jeroboam and all that he did and his might, how he fought, how he recovered for Israel Damascus and Hamath, which had belonged to Judah, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Jeroboam slept with his ancestors, the kings of Israel. His son Zechariah succeeded him. Chapter 15. In the 27th year of King Jeroboam of Israel, King Azariah, son of Amaziah of Judah, began to reign. He was 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jecholiah of Jerusalem. He did what was right in the sight of the Lord, just as his father Amaziah had done. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and made offerings on the high places. The Lord struck the king so that he was leprous to the day of his death, and lived in a separate house. Jotham, the king's son, was in charge of the palace. He was in charge of the place. He was in charge of the palace, governing the people of the land. Now the rest of the acts of Azariah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? Azariah slept with his ancestors. They buried him with his ancestors in the city of David. His son Jotham succeeded him. In the 38th year of King Azariah of Judah, Zechariah, son of Jeroboam, reigned over Israel in Samaria 6 months. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, as his ancestors had done. He did not depart from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he caused Israel to sin. Shallum, son of Jabesh, conspired against him and struck him down in public and killed him and reigned in place of him. Now the rest of the deeds of Zechariah are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. This was the promise of the Lord that he gave to Jehu. Your sons shall sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation. And so it happened. Shallum, Shallum, son of Jabesh, began to reign in the 39th year of King Uzziah of Judah. He reigned 1 month in Samaria. Then Menahem, son of Gadi, came up from Tirzah and came to Samaria. He struck down Shallum, son of Jabesh, in Samaria and killed him. He reigned in place of him. Now the rest of the deeds of Shallum, including the conspiracy that he made, are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. At the time Menahem sacked Tipsha, all who were in it and its territory from Tirzah on, because they did not open it to him, he sacked it. He ripped open all the pregnant women in it. Okay. Verse 17. In the 39th year of King Azariah of Judah, Menahem, son of Gadi, began to reign over Israel. He reigned 10 years in Samaria. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not depart all his days from any of the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he caused Israel to sin. King Pul of Assyria came against the land. Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, so that he might help him confirm his hold on the royal power. Menahem exacted the money from Israel, that is, from all the wealthy, 50 shekels of silver from each one, to give to the king of Assyria. Now the king of Assyria turned back and did not stay there in the land. Now the rest of the deeds of Menahem and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Menahem slept with his ancestors, and his son Pekahiah succeeded him. In the 50th year of King Azariah of Judah, Pekahiah, son of Menahem, began to reign over Israel in Samaria. He reigned 2 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he caused Israel to sin. Pekah, son of Remaliah, his captain, conspired against him with 50 of the Gileadites and attacked him in Samaria in the citadel of the palace along with Argob and Ariah. He killed him and reigned in place of him. Now the rest of the deeds of Pekahiah and all that he did are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. In the 52nd year of King Azariah of Judah, Pekah son of Remaliah began to reign over Israel in Samaria. He reigned 20 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not depart from the sins of Jeroboam son of Nebat, which he caused Israel to sin. In the days of King Pekah of Israel, King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria came and captured Ijon, Abel-Beth-Maachah, Genoa, Kedesh, Hazor, Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and he carried the people captive to Assyria. Then Hosea, son of Elah, made a conspiracy against Pekah, son of Remaliah, and attacked him and killed him. He reigned in place of him in the 20th year of Jotham, son of Uzziah. Now the rest of the acts of Pekah and all that he did are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. Verse 32. In the 2nd year of King Pekah, son of Remaliah of Israel, King Jotham, son of Uzziah of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jerusha, daughter of Zadok. He did what was right in the sight of the Lord, just as his father Uzziah had done. Nevertheless, the high places were not removed. The people still sacrificed and made offerings on the high places. He built the upper gate of the house of the Lord. Now the rest of the acts of Jotham and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? In those days the Lord began to send King Rezin of Aram and Pekah, son of Remaliah, against Judah. Jotham slept with his ancestors and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. His ancestor, his son Ahaz, succeeded him. Chapter 16. A little lubrication first. In the 17th year, chapter 16, in the 17th year of Pekah, son of Remaliah, King Ahaz, son of Jotham of Judah, began to reign. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. He did not do what was right in the sight of the Lord his God, as his ancestor David had done. Is this Judah? Yeah, Judah. He did not do what was right in the sight of the Lord, as his ancestor David had done, but he walked in the way of the kings of Israel. He even made his son pass through the fire, according to the abominable practices of the nations whom the Lord drove out before the people of Israel. He sacrificed and made offerings on the high places, on the hills, and under every green tree. Then King Rezin of Aram and King Pekah, son of Remaliah of Israel, came up to wage war on Jerusalem. They besieged Ahaz, but could not conquer him. At that time the king of Edom recovered Elath for Edom, and drove the Judeans from Elath. And the Edomites came to Elath, where they live to this day. Ahaz sent messengers to King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria, saying, I am your servant and your son. Come up and rescue me from the hand of the king of Aram and from the hand of the king of Israel, who are attacking me. Ahaz took the silver and gold found in the house of the Lord and in the treasures of the king's house, and sent a present to the king of Assyria. The king of Assyria listened to him. The king of Assyria marched up against Damascus and took it, carrying its people captive to Kir. Then he killed Rezin. Verse 10, when King Ahaz went to Damascus to meet King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria, he saw the altar that was at Damascus. King Ahaz sent the priest to Uriah a model of the altar and its pattern, exact in all its details. The priest Uriah built the altar in accordance with all that King Ahaz had sent from Damascus. Just so did the priest Uriah build it before King Ahaz arrived from Damascus. When the king came from Damascus, the king viewed the altar. Then the king drew near to the altar and went up on it and offered his burnt offering and his grain offering, poured his drink offering, and dashed the blood of his offerings of well-being against the altar. The bronze altar that was before the Lord he removed from the front of the house, from the place between his altar and the house of the Lord, and put it on the north side of his altar. King Ahaz commanded the priest Uriah, saying, Upon this great altar offer the morning burnt offering and the evening grain offering, and the king's burnt offering and his grain offering, with the burnt offering of all the people of the land, their grain offering and their drink offering. Then dash against it all the blood of the burnt offering and all the blood of the sacrifice, but the bronze altar shall be for me to inquire by. The priest Uriah did everything that King Ahaz commanded. Verse 17. Then King Ahaz cut off the frames of the stands and removed the laver from them. He removed the sea from the bronze oxen that were under it and put it on a pediment of stone. Then he covered the covered portal for use on the Sabbath that had been built inside the palace, and the outer entrance for the king he removed from the house of the Lord. He did this because of the king of Assyria. Now the rest of the acts of Ahaz that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? Ahaz slept with his ancestors and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. His son Hezekiah succeeded him. Chapter 17 in a moment. Chapter 17. What's going to happen? Who's going to die? Who's going to live? And who's been sinning? Find out in chapter 17. In the 12th year of King Ahaz of Judah, Hosea, son of Elah, began to reign in Samaria over Israel. He reigned 9 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, yet not like the kings of Israel who were before him. King Shalmaneser of Assyria came up against him. Hosea became his vassal and paid him tribute. But the king of Assyria found treachery in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to King So of Egypt and offered no tribute to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria confined him and imprisoned him. Then the king of Assyria invaded all the land and came to Samaria. For 3 years he besieged it. In the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria captured Samaria. He carried the Israelites away to Assyria. He placed them in Halah, on the Habor, the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. This occurred because the people of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, who had brought them up out of the land of Egypt under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. They had worshipped other gods and walked in the customs of the nations whom the Lord drove out before the people of Israel, and in the customs that the kings of Israel had introduced. The people of Israel secretly did things that were not right against the Lord their God. They built for themselves high places at all their towns, from watchtower to fortified city. They set up for themselves pillars and sacred poles on every high hill and under every green tree. There they made offerings on all the high places of the nations before, as the nations did. Let me try that again, verse 11. There they made offerings on all the high places, as the nations did, whom the Lord carried away before them. They did wicked things, provoking the Lord to anger. They served idols, of which the Lord had said to them, "You shall not do this." Yet the Lord warned Israel and Judah by every prophet and every seer, saying, "Turn from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes, in accordance with all the law that I commanded your ancestors, and that I sent to you by my servants, the prophets." They would not listen, but were stubborn, as their ancestors had been, who did not believe in the Lord their God. They despised his statutes and his covenant that he made with their ancestors and the warnings that he gave them. They went after false idols and became false. They followed the nations that were around them, concerning whom the Lord had commanded that they should not do as they did. They rejected all the commandments of the Lord their God and made for themselves cast images of 2 calves. They made a sacred pole, worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. Verse 17. They made their sons and their daughters pass through fire. They used divination and augury. And they sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. None was left but the tribe of Judah alone. Judah also did not keep the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the customs that Israel had introduced. The Lord rejected all the descendants of Israel. He punished them and gave them into the hand of the plunderers until he had banished them from his presence. When he had torn Israel from the house of David, they made Jeroboam, son of Nebat, king. Jeroboam drove Israel from following the Lord and made them commit great sin. The people of Israel continued in all the sins that Jeroboam committed. They did not depart from them until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had foretold through all his servants, the prophets. So Israel was exiled from their own land to Assyria until this day. Verse 24. The king of Assyria brought people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria in place of the people of Israel. They took possession of Samaria and settled its cities. When the first settled there, they did not worship the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which killed some of them. So the king of Assyria was told, "The nations that you have carried away and placed in the cities of Samaria do not know the law of the God of the land, therefore he has sent lions among them. They are killing them because they do not know the law of the God of the land." Then the king of Assyria commanded, "Send there one of the priests whom you carried away from there. Let him go and live there and teach them the law of the God of the land." So one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and lived in Bethel. He taught them how they should worship the Lord. It's kind of a strange story. So lions started showing up because they weren't worshiping correctly, apparently. I mean, was it like 1,000 lions that they the cities were overwhelmed by lions. They were unstoppable forces of lions. Could they not defeat the lions? Were they miraculous lions, like holy lions that were unstoppable? How did they know that was what was triggering the lions? The king of Assyria seemed to find out. Send a priest to figure out your lion situation. I'd like to know the backstory of that, but we don't have it. Verse 29, but every nation still made gods of its own and put them in the shrines of the high places that the people of Samaria had made. Every nation in the cities of which they lived. The people of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth. The people of Cuth made Nergal. The people of Hamath made Ashima. The Avites made Nibhaz and Tartak. The Seravites burned their children in fire to Adremelech and Anemelech, the gods of Sepharvaim. They also worshipped the Lord and appointed from among themselves all sorts of people as priests of the high places, who sacrificed for them in the shrines of the high places. So they worshipped the Lord, but also served their own gods after the manner of the nations among whom they had been carried away. To this day they continue to practice their former customs. They do not worship the Lord, and they do not follow the statutes or the ordinances of the Lord, or the commandment or the law or the commandment that the Lord commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel. The Lord had made a covenant with them and commanded them, you shall not worship other gods or bow yourselves to them or serve them or sacrifice to them, but you shall worship the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. With great power and with an outstretched arm you shall bow yourselves to him, and to him you shall sacrifice. The statutes and the ordinances and the law of the commandment that he wrote for you, you shall always be careful to observe. You shall not worship other gods. You shall not forget the covenant that I have made with you. You shall not worship other gods, but you shall worship the Lord your God. He will deliver you out of the hand of all your enemies. They would not listen, however, but they continued to practice their former custom. Verse 41. So these nations worship the Lord, but also serve their carved images. To this day, their children and their children's children continue to do as their ancestors did. Thank you so much for joining me today. I think we'll have one more session of 2 Kings and we'll wrap it up. And we'll move on to the next book of the Bible. Hope your evening is going well, or hope your day is going well. And I will see you next time. Bye.